everybody. So thank you for joining me for Body Positivity Yoga Live. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. I wanted to show you the goodies that I've grabbed for our practice today. So I have a mat to practice on. My floor is carpeted, so I've got a good amount of squish. If your floor isn't carpeted or you just have more sensitive joints, you can always double up 2 mats or put a blanket underneath the mat as long as it doesn't make it too slippery. We are going to be doing some standing stuff today. Over to one side I have some pillows that I've harvested from my house. So I have a pillow from my couch, I have a pillow from the bed, and I also have a yoga bolster. This is probably one of the more tricky props to get a hold of. They're a little pricier. If you have one, they're awesome. They're really firm, so they'll support your body. So if you have one, having it handy is going to be great for this practice, but you don't need it. Pillows are great. And I've also grabbed a couple of yoga blocks and a strap, which can be any long, non-stretchy belt, something that's comfortable to hold on to. And what else? Oh, and if you have one of these Swiffery sweepery things with a flat base, we're going to be using that. So it's totally optional. If you have a wall handy or a chair, you might be able to use that as well. But I'm going to be showing you how I like to use one of these in my practice. So if you have one, maybe grab one, and we're going to get started in about a minute or so. So I'm not playing any music in my background during this video. If you enjoy music with your practice, the nice thing is you can just crank up the volume on my voice and put on your own music. I have 2 small dogs in my home, so sometimes they'll come sniffing around during the practice. They may have a moment of barking or whatever, but we'll definitely give them a little shush when it's time to be quiet, and it should be fine. If you've got pets or kids or partners that want to join, please bring them into the room with you and we'll get started. I also have water because it's crazy hot here right now. I don't know what temperature it is where you are, but... So if you're watching live, please feel free to leave comments, and after the practice I'll be going through and answering any questions that you have. So you can hang out and leave comments during the practice, you can leave comments after. If the comments section is no longer available at the close of the video, then just send me an email and I'll be happy to get back to you. I'm super excited to start. I'm like looking at my timer like, is it time yet? Is it time yet? If you're just joining, I have some pillows, I have a couple blocks, those are not needed, but if you have them, they're handy. I have a yoga bolster, also not required, but if you have it, it's handy. And I also have a Swiffer. If you don't have a Swiffer, you could also grab a broom. It may not be as stable at the bottom, so you might just be flipping it over. And you could also grab, what else could you grab? Any sort of stickish sort of thing. Maybe like a cane or a walking stick if you have one of those. Some umbrellas might work if you think they'll support you a little bit. But something sort of sturdy and stick-like. So we're going to be playing with that in a little bit. So we're going to get started in about 1 minute. I think I said that already, but I mean it this time. So in about a minute we'll start the practice. If you're already on your mat, we're going to be starting in either a comfortable sitting position or lying back on your back. Any place on the mat that you feel comfortable. So if you're already set up in your practice space and you want to get settled, this is the time to do that. And everybody else just sort of filter in, and as you grab your stuff and get set up, just know you have another 30-40 seconds or so before we're going to start. Puppies have suspiciously wandered off. They might actually hang out in the other room during the practice. I guess we'll see. Alright, it's about that time. So if you've got all your goodies, that's great. Come get settled in. If you're just joining us, then take your time and settle in when you're ready. But the time is now, so when you're ready, come down for a comfortable seat on your mat. It can be any comfortable sitting position or any comfortable lying down position. So you can lie on your back, you can lie on your belly or on your side, but we're going to take some time just to sort of settle into the practice here in the beginning. So the most important thing is just that you're really, really comfortable. So take your time and find a shape that's going to work for you. I think today I'm going to sit up and maybe extend a leg out to the side. I'm going to settle into a tall seat. Remember that we'll be here for a good couple of minutes, so whatever shape you choose, make sure it's one that you feel comfortable in and fairly supported, fairly relaxed. You're in your home, so you could also lay on a couch or even a bed if you've got one in your practice space. Anything goes. So as you find your comfortable shape, please close your eyes or soften your gaze. And if you're sitting up, see, here's one of my puppies. If you're sitting up, please roll your shoulders up to your ears, back, and soften them down. If you're lying on your back, just start to settle the backs of your shoulder blades into the floor. And just let the back of your body get very, very heavy. And so whether you're sitting or you're laying down, notice all the points of contact between your body and the floor. So sitting, you're noticing the sitting bones or the backs of the legs. Lying down, you're noticing the backs of your hips, the back of your head, the back of your shoulders. Start to notice all these points making contact with the floor, and every time you breathe out, just sink into these points a little bit more. Just allow gravity to sort of pull you down into the earth a little bit. And so we sort of begin this process of arriving in our practice, where we consciously set aside the worries and the stresses of the day, move into a space where we can pay attention to ourselves. And please bring your attention to your breath. If it's comfortable for the position you're in, or you enjoy doing this, then place a hand on your belly. And I like to place my hand just below the waistline, below the belly button. And keeping your shoulders relaxed, just begin to breathe and notice the movement of your belly as you breathe in, the way the belly fills and expands. And as you breathe out, noticing the way the belly softens in towards your spine. And just notice this movement. Try not to force anything, as you really begin to notice the rhythm of your own breath. And as your breath begins to deepen and smooth out a little bit, bring your attention to all the places in the body where you hold your tension. And so for a lot of us, that's in the jaw, or the neck and the shoulders. Notice where you're holding and consciously soften and let that tension go. Some of us will find this tension in the hips, in the belly, or in the chest, sometimes in the back. Wherever it is, notice where you're gripping and see what you can do to let some of that tension go. Remember, it doesn't have to be all of it all at the same time or right away. Sometimes it's a process of a little bit of letting go, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. Notice when the mind wanders, and just very gently and lovingly bring that attention back to this moment. And in this moment, let's take 3 or 4 more conscious deep breaths in this space here at the beginning of our practice. Nice big inhales and nice long exhales. At the end of your 3rd or your 4th exhale, whatever feels nicer, whether you're lying back or sitting up, just begin to invite some small movements into your body. Maybe you roll your wrists or your ankles Scrunch and release the toes. Maybe you stretch out that other leg, whatever feels good. Shake it out a little bit. If you're lying on your back, maybe a nice big stretch, arms overhead, legs long, or maybe you want to bend your knees, place your feet flat on the floor, and gently take the knees to each side of your mat, back and forth a couple of times like windshield wipers. But as you're ready and you've sort of worked out some of the stiffness of the body, then slowly flutter your eyes open. If you're lying on your mat, then please come to one side, roll all the way over, and gently press your way into any comfortable seated position so that we can move into some stuff in the spine. So there's no big hurry for this. Take your time and just move into it when you're ready. Find your way into whatever comfortable seat is going to work for you. So for some people that's going to be cross-legged. For some people it's going to be sitting with your feet together and your knees out just to make some nice spacious room for the belly. For some people it's going to be kneeling, for others it'll be one leg out like I had here in the beginning. Sometimes people will sit up on a blanket or a pillow, especially if the hips and sort of this area here in the front feels really, really tight. Sometimes the legs are tight. So choose what would feel good. Sit up on something or sit flat on your mat. Legs can do whatever you like because it doesn't matter for this next shape. And so as you get settled, let's all roll our shoulders up to our ears, back, soften them down. Take a nice big inhale, and as you lengthen up the spine, exhale, take your chin down towards your chest, keep your shoulders relaxed. And just take a couple breaths right into the back of your neck. With your next inhale, sweep your ear over your shoulder. And I notice that when I do this, my shoulder likes to sort of creep up next to my ear, so just consciously, if you're doing that too, just relax that shoulder down. We'll take a couple more breaths here, just breathing and stretching into this left side of the neck. With your next exhale, just turn your nose down towards your shoulder and tuck your chin in close. You'll notice that the stretch will change a little bit. And take a couple deep breaths into this space. Still breathing deeply and smoothly. And with your next exhale, very gently roll your chin down into the center of your chest. Take a big inhale, lift your chin, roll your shoulders up to your ears, back, and soften them down. Now if the hips are getting tight from holding yourself up, then just lean back on your hands, or if you just want to do it for fun. And shake out the legs, roll out the legs, flop the knees, whatever you want to do. And then find your way back into a comfortable seat. If you were cross-legged, it might be nice to actually cross your legs the other way. So the side that feels kind of funny, bring that side in first. Settling in again to your seat, and again we'll roll the shoulders up to our ears, back and down. We'll do the second side of our neck stretch. So take a nice big inhale. Exhale, left ear over to left shoulder. Relax both shoulders down, especially on that left side. We'll take a few deep breaths here, just allowing some stretch to occur here on the right side of the neck, top of the right shoulder. And with your next exhale, you're going to turn your nose down towards that left shoulder and tuck your chin in. And so this changes the stretch in the neck and the shoulder a bit. Take a few deep breaths here. Both shoulders heavy. And with your next exhale, roll your chin down into the center of your chest. Lift your chin. With an inhale, take your shoulders up and back and soften them down. And again, maybe lean back on your hands and shake out your feet. I have a puppy that's going to be sad when I make her get off that pillow. So shaking it out. Come back to a comfortable seat. If you're like, oh man, that seat is killing me, then just change it up. If your hips are really tight here in the front or you feel like the belly is working, please do grab a pillow or a couple of pillows and sit up, and that will actually release some of the tension here in the hips or in the back of the legs. So come back to whatever comfortable seat you would like. I'm going to come back to cross-legged. And again, finding a tall spine. So you want to shift your shoulders back until the sitting bones, the bony part of your bum, gets a little heavier and you'll feel a little bit of a shift. So from that place, we're going to just bring the fingertips down beside us. Now I go fingertips, I like the way that feels. Some people's arms are longer than mine and might be able to have hands down to the floor, but if I do that in my body, I slouch. So stay nice and tall, fingertips or fists, whatever you like. And with your next inhale, take your right arm up alongside your right ear, and as you exhale, soften that shoulder down. And as you inhale, extend it up, but lift from the heart. Yeah, and as you exhale, come over into that left hand. Little gentle bend, doesn't have to be a big bend. You can bend this top elbow or keep it straight, whatever feels better. And then root that right hip down and lift the right side waist up. And this will seem pretty familiar if you joined me in my last class, because this is movement that I like to teach. So take a few deep breaths right into that right side body. And see if you can notice lots of gripping in that left side. See where you can soften. Couple more breaths. With your next inhale, draw your belly in, float your arm all the way up, and then exhale, bring it back down. Nice. Shake out the hips if they need a little rest. And with your next inhale, we're going to bring that left arm up. And as you exhale, come over to the right side. Keep it a little organic. It doesn't have to be a big bend over. And then root that left hip down, lift the left side ribs up. And let's take a couple deep breaths now into the left side of the body. With your next inhale, hug the belly in a little bit. Come all the way back up. Exhale, lower that arm down. Release any tension in the shoulders. Maybe roll the shoulders up, back, and down. So next we're going to do a really gentle twist. These are simple shapes, and you can change up where what the lower body is doing so that we can free up the spine for movement. So I'm going to take my legs in a different shape. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And as you exhale, just take a gentle twist to your left. And when you do, bring your right arm across your body. Now it might wrap around your belly. It might come to the outer left thigh. Or it might go to the inner right leg or right knee. Anywhere you can get a little bit of leverage. The left hand comes right behind your hip. Press into that left hand, lengthen your spine. Big inhale. Exhale, explore your twist. So where this right arm is doesn't matter as much as you just having a nice tall spine. And we'll take 3 more deep breaths. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, explore the twist. 2 more breaths like that. And with your next inhale, lengthen the spine and float yourself back to center. Exhale, shake it out a little. Second side of the twist, big inhale, lengthen, and exhale, take your body to the right. So you take that arm across wherever it feels nice, or you keep it on the same side with a little bit of a press. Back hand is quite close to your body. Big inhale. Exhale. Just enjoy the experience of twisting the spine. Try to let the twist come from the upper body, so shoulders, heart. Every inhale, lengthen up, and every exhale, enjoy a twist. Last breath. And with your next inhale, lengthen your spine and float back to center. Maybe lean back on your hands and shake out the legs a little. So if you are in the category of people, and there are a lot of us, that the hamstrings are really, really tight, then this next pose may be a little bit challenging. So I really want you to consider sitting up on a bolster. I would demo that, but I'm actually almost hyper flexible in that area, and it allows my knees to soften a little too much. But if the hamstrings are tight, and you know because you're feeling a lot of pull in the front of the hips or the front of the belly when you sit up straight, then please sit on a bolster or a couple of pillows, a folded blanket, whatever you have handy. Elevate the hips a little bit. So we're all going to take our legs comfortably wide, and that width is going to vary from person to person. So I want you to find your comfortable width. Some of us like to go really wide. I have to help my legs a little bit. Some of us like to be a little bit closer together. So I want you to find the spot that works for you. If you're really tight, being upright may already be too much. Your knees will be really bent. If that's you, I want you to lean back on your hands far enough that you can extend the legs straight without too much pull in the hamstrings. And then everybody, I want you to send your heels away and pull your toes towards you. And what I just did here with my hips, reach back behind the upper thigh flesh or the bum flesh a little bit and pull it out from underneath you. So if you're leaning back on your hands, your pose is going to look a little bit like this. You're going to lift your heart, walk your hands closer together behind you, and focus on the feeling in the back of the legs. If you're more flexible, you're probably not feeling anything in the back of your legs in this shape. So I want you to take the body up, draw the belly in between the thighs. Hands can rest on thighs or in the floor in front of you. Take a big inhale, and your practice is to start to melt the heart forward, sticking or wiggling the booty back behind you. And once the spine is really long, the feet are still flexed, then start to round the upper back. And into whatever shape you're in, whether it's far forward, right up and down, or far back, I want you to take 3 deep breaths in your shape. Notice the sensation in the back of your legs. Nice. At the beginning of your next inhale, start to walk yourself more upright from back or from forward. Find your way into a bit more of a neutral shape. And then shake out the legs a little bit. Take them out of that wide V. And let's swing the legs around to hands and knees. Hands and knees, if the fronts of your knees are sensitive, please grab a fluffy pillow or a soft blanket and tuck that under your knees. And we're just going to come around to that tabletop shape. So the thing about this shape is you want to have lots of space between the heels of your hands and your knees. Feet can be flat or toes can be tucked, whatever feels nicer in your body. And then I want you to walk your hands a little wider than maybe you already are. So especially if you're broad-shouldered, but my pinkies almost always come off my mat. Yeah. With your next inhale, tip your tailbone up. Let your belly stretch and take your shoulders up, back, and down your back as you send your heart forward and the back of your head lifts. As you exhale, curl your tailbone under. Belly draws in towards spine and upper back to sky as your chin draws in towards your chest. This is cat-cow breathing. Inhale, wave the action from your tailbone, and exhale from the tailbone up the spine. We'll do 3 more of these at your own pace. So inhales, we stretch the front of the body. Exhales, we round and stretch the back of the body. 2 more breaths. And we'll finish on an exhale and just linger in that exhale for an extra moment or so. And then come back to neutral. Maybe you want to come back a little bit so you can shake out your wrists and your elbows. If you're okay on the weight on the hands, that's okay. You can just hang out there. But shake it out if you would like. Then come back to this shape. We're going to shift the weight into the left knee, so make sure it's comfy. And then send the right leg back behind. I'm going to scooch forward on my mat a little bit. Send the right foot back behind, tuck the toes, and send the heel back. So both hips face forward. just the heel back. And we're just looking for some stretch in the back of the leg. Couple deep breaths. And then bring the right knee in. And we're going to switch sides. So shift your weight into your right leg. Left leg comes back, toes down. Press the heel back. Yes. The wrists are really sensitive here. You can also switch to fists. Knuckles down, thumbs out. You could even do this pose down on your forearms. It might be a little squishy in the belly. You could totally do it. So find your version. One last moment. And then bring your left knee in. So let's play with the child's pose shape. Take your knees nice and wide, bring the big toes together, shift your weight back towards your heels, and make space for belly in front of you. Come down maybe onto elbows and see how that feels. Maybe you want to stack fist on top of fist and rest your forehead. If you've got pillows or a bolster, I don't want to disturb my dog just yet, you can stack pillows and stuff up in front of you and just give yourself something to lay forward on. This is one of my favorites. And don't worry about what the shape looks like, worry about how it feels. So I'm not laying here agonizing about my butt being higher than my heels. I'm just enjoying sinking into this shape. Letting some of the work of the poses before go. I'll take 2 more breaths in this gentle practice here on the floor. Nice, and then when you're ready, slowly press your way up. Remember, that shape is just one shape you can use to rest, and if you hate it, you never have to do it. You can always do something else. So we're going to come back to hands and knees. And I'd like to get into one more stretch before we come to standing. So I'm going to show you how to get into a low lunge. What I want you to do is walk your hands over to the left side of the mat, like way over, so you're making lots of space. And you're going to take your right leg and swing it around in front of you, wiggle it, inch it up with your toes, and bring that foot towards the front of your mat. And it's going to be more straight than bent at first. And then pull your belly into the inner side of that thigh. Square your arms and your hips forward again. So I'm drawing this hip back. Yes. And then sink into that front knee. Now it might feel funny having the arm on the outside of the leg. You might want to bring it on the inside. But bring that knee forward, stretch the back leg. If your foot's too far forward, inch those toes back, sink back in. If it's not far enough forward, inch the toes forward and go a little deeper. So we're going to take 2 more breaths here. Come out, you come out the same way you came in. So walk your hands over to the side so that the hands and the belly are a little bit out of the way. Wiggle walk that foot off to the side, swing it around behind you, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, if you need to shake out your wrists, do that. Super normal for them to get a little tender. So walk your hands over to the right, way over. Swing that left leg around any way you can get it up to the front. Inch it up to the spot you think it's going to hang out. And then bring yourself back center, and as you do, you want to square the hips. So left hip crease draws back, right hip forward. Sink into the shape. If it's too much, inch this foot back a little till you find your shape. Now lots of people in this pose, the foot's going to be way back, and you're going to feel lots of stretch. But I find that being too short in the pose pressures the back knee. So give yourself a bit of forward room. 2 more breaths. Nice. As it's time to come out, move your hands over to the side. Gently unbend your leg a little bit and then swing it around behind you. So we're going to play with something. This is just an experiment. So you've got 2 choices. You can play with this and just see if your body likes it or doesn't like it. Or you can just meet us in standing, because that's where we're headed next. But I want to just show you a fun way we could play with transition. So bring your knees a little closer to your hands and a little bit wider apart, almost like we were going to go into child's pose. Tuck your toes under. Yep. So the experiment is this: bringing your hands in a little closer, taking your legs a little wider apart, seeing if it's possible to rock back on your feet into a bit of a squat. Maybe the heels are really lifted. And if your body likes that okay, then tip yourself forward, start to lift the hips. If you're looking at all this and you're like, what the heck, man? You're not alone. It's just something to play with. No matter what, we're just playing with an idea or just experimenting with shapes. When you're ready, roll yourself up. We're all going to meet in standing at the front of the mat. So the reason we come to the front of the mat when we're doing some of these shapes is so we have room behind us to play. So come up near the front and set your foundation. So you want feet right underneath your knees. And you want your legs a comfortable distance apart. So find your strong stance. Come back to breath. Your hands can hang just loosely at your sides for now. Palms maybe rotate forward. Let's just bring our attention to the feet. So with your feet right underneath your knees, press down through the big toe mounds. And then back into your inner heels. And then out to your outer heels. Up to your pinky toe mounds. Maybe just bend your knees a little, sink your booty back. Maybe lift all 10 toes up. And if you're like, holy cow, that's super normal. Strong legs, feel muscles hugging in towards bones. Straighten your legs so you're nice and strong through the standing pose, and then release the toes, but keep some of that muscular effort. Soft shoulders and an open heart, and just notice what mountain pose feels like. Reach the top of your head to the ceiling, to the sky, wherever you happen to be. If your eyes are closed, flutter them open, and with your next inhale, float both arms nice and wide, right up to the sky, palms facing. As you exhale, bend your knees and dive down, hands to your thighs, or hands to blocks in front of you, or hands to the floor. All of these are good options. And as you fold yourself down, find contact between belly and thighs. And if you're like, man, I found contact a while ago and it's a little squishy, then bring your feet a little wider, maybe even pull the belly in between. A little bit of bend to the knees, let the head go. So remember, hands can be on thighs, hands can be on blocks in front of you, or they can be on the floor. And if you're not feeling anything in the backs of your thighs, or very little, you could tip the tailbone up, keep belly to thighs. Let the head go. So whether you're here or you're here, it's the same shape. With your next inhale, send your heart forward, so lengthen your arms, heart forward, shoulders back. And as you exhale, pour yourself forward. We'll do that again. Inhale, heart forward. And exhale, fold. We're going to come all the way back up. So bend your knees, take your arms wide, open your heart, reach up. Let your palms touch overhead and slide the hands down through the center of your gaze until your thumbs rest lightly at your heart. Notice your breath. Notice your body. Notice the strength in your legs. And if this is a tired day for you, that whole sequence we just did, you could do seated in a chair even. We're going to do it again with a little bit more flow. So big inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, release your hands. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, dive down. Find your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Bend your knees. Inhale, open your heart. Reverse swan dive. Come all the way back up. Palms touch and exhale, hands to heart. Inhale here. And exhale, release your hands. Inhale, float your arms up. Notice connection between breath and body. Exhale, fold. Ooh, hit my furniture. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Bend your knees. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart. One more time like that. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, coming all the way up. Palms touch, exhale, hands down to the heart. Relax your shoulders. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a few deep breaths. Notice the way your body feels. Notice your breath. Release your hands and shake it out a little bit. Very nice. So we're going to keep facing the short edge of our mat. So make sure that you've got your Swippery dude somewhere nearby. We're going to need him soon-ish. Not just yet, but soon. So have him near. And we're going to roll the shoulders up to our ears, back and down. And you can either keep the hands loosely at your sides or take your hands to your hips. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, sink your weight into your left leg. Left leg is strong, not locked. And then the right leg is going to get soft. We're going to take a generous step back with that right leg. So big step back. And if you step back just a little bit and you want a little bit more, just scooch it back. Yep. Now when we step back, the hips open. That's fine. That's what the body's supposed to do. But I want you to rotate that left hip crease back and the right hip forward so you're facing with both hip bones the front of your mat, the short edge. Perfect. Take a big inhale, open the chest. Hands can come to hips now if you like. And as you exhale, bend your left knee. Keep it nice and wide to the left so it doesn't pull in towards the midline, but it stays wide. Yeah. Back foot should be turned out just a little bit. And if you're feeling kind of tippy, then I want you to take your right foot even wider to the right. We have a tendency to be sort of in a tightrope, and I'd rather you be in railroad tracks. So hips square to the front. Little bit of a bent knee in front, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Hips over shoulders, so we lean in. I want you to lean back a little. And then stay here, lift the heart. If you want more challenge today, then you can take your arms overhead, palms facing. You could even interlace your fingers, release the first fingers up, stretch up, and maybe move into a bit of a back bend. So you could be here, you could be here, you could be here. It's all warrior one pose. That's the one we're exploring. 2 more breaths. Last breath. Nice. Take a look down at your knee, so watch the knee because it likes to roll into that midline. Keep it wide. Press the foot forward, straighten your leg. Hips are still square. When I straighten my leg, sometimes my leg goes too far, so make sure you keep a little micro bend. Open your heart with a big inhale, hands to heart, or hands to hips rather. And as you exhale, pull back these hips, so hinge down here, melt the heart forward. And if you're real tight in the back of the leg, you're going to only go like 1 millimeter. And if you're a little more open, you might go a little deeper. If you're very open, you might bring a hand to the thigh or even to the shin. Try not to push on the knee. But no matter what you choose, keep the spine long. 2 more breaths. This one is called pyramid pose. Nice. Bring your upper body up. Bend your knee again. And then just get a little bit of back and forth between your front leg and your back leg. And when you're ready, step your back leg forward. If it takes multiple steps, it's fine. Shake it out. Very nice. So we're going to do the same stuff on the second side. So plant your feet. I like hands on hips. Whatever you like, hands can be loose. Take a big inhale. Exhale, sink into your right leg. Get a little bit lighter on the left leg. When you're ready, take a big step back. If it wasn't big enough, take a little bit more. If it was too much, bring it in a bit. Square the hips. Right hip back, left hip forward. Yep. Take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, bend into that front knee. So you remember that back foot is turned out just a little. You've got a wide, stable base of support. We want the knee to move out a little to the right rather than into the center. Lean back a little. Open the heart. elbows are wide. This is a beautiful pose as it is right here. So you could stay here. You could invite a little bit more if you wanted that today by just taking the arms up, shoulders are soft, or by interlacing the fingers, release the first fingers and stretch up, maybe a little back bend. So your pose might be here today, or it might be here, or it might be here. 2 more breaths. When you're ready, shift your gaze down. Press that foot forward so it's a strong straightening of the leg, not so much a collapse of the knee. And then square the hips if they've opened a little bit to the left again. Square them back to front. Hands on the hips. Big inhale, lengthen. Hinge at the hips, and exhale, tip forward. Knee is rolling so that it's pointed still, sort of center / up. So watch for the knee to roll in or out. You want to keep it centered. Remember, this pose might be teeny tiny. It might be just a little tip. Some of us will go deeper. Try to avoid rounding too much. We want the hinging to happen down at the hip. 2 more breaths. Pyramid pose. When you're ready, bend into that front knee. Shift your weight back and forth a couple of times, and when you're ready, step up. Shake it out, especially the feet. Those standing poses require a lot of our feet, and especially if you're newer to yoga, holy cow, that gets tight. Yeah, nice. We're going to come sideways on the mat, so I want you to face the long edge. And step your feet wide apart. When you step your feet wide, a lot of times we're nervous to take the legs too wide. Oftentimes wider is a little easier, so choose what works for you. Play with it a little. But take a look down at your feet. We have a tendency to turn the feet out. And I want you to turn the feet so that they're parallel to each other. Yeah. Notice if the inner edges are heavier than the outer edges of your feet. Try to balance it out. Yep. Start with hands on hips. Take a big inhale, lift your heart. As you exhale, I want you to bend your knees and start to bring your belly and your heart forward, keeping the spine long. So booty is back, knees are bent. If you're tight, this may be as far as you go. If you're more open and you want to go deeper, you might want to pull the belly in. Keep the knees bent, stick your booty way out, start to melt your heart forward. Keep the knees bent at first. Maybe bring your fingertips to the floor in front of you, or your hands. Some of us are quite open here, and you're going to want to start to tip the tailbone up and melt the heart down. Maybe let the weight of the head go. If you're pretty flexible and you love this shape, maybe the top of your head points right down towards the ceiling. Maybe you even reach hands behind you between your legs because that feels glorious. Maybe you're looking at this going, holy cow, no way. If you're in the no way category, your pose might be here and you might be like, oh my god, I hate this shape. It's all allowed. Wherever you're at, take 2 more big breaths, please. And with your next inhale, climb up to the thighs if you're not there already, and slowly come up with an open heart. Feel the warmth in your body. It is so warm here. Step your feet together. Shake it out. Grab your Swiffer. If you don't have a Swiffer, I love this thing. If you don't have a Swiffer, not to worry. If you have a fireplace ledge, what is this called? A mantle? If you have a mantle, if you have a wall, you can also grab a chair and you can put your hand on the back of the chair. We're going to be using this for some support and some balance. This is great because it's got a lot of movement ability. The idea is not to put our whole weight on whatever we're using for support. The idea is actually just to use it as sort of a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Security, like confidence, right? So we're going to start with a balance that many of us have seen, if we haven't done it before, called tree pose. So my Swiffery type thing has a little handle just above here where I can sort of rest my hand. So that's how I've got mine set up, and I'm going to start on my right leg. So if you have a wall or a chair, that's where you're going to put your right hand if you don't have one of these. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, sink your weight more into your right leg. Decide if you need this closer or further from you. And you want to get so far over into the right leg that you can get really light on the left foot. Yeah. And then we're going to turn that left knee out and bring the left heel to the ankle, toes down on the floor. So toes are on the floor, heels up. Maybe we're going to bring the foot a little higher, or maybe we're just going to get lighter on the toes, so just the tippy toe is down. And you can use your Swiffer or your wall or your chair to give you that confidence, but as you start to get more confident in your shape, try to get lighter on your balance point. Play with a fingertip on the wall or on your tool. If you fall out, take your time, find your way back in. Try not to rush. So if having the foot on the calf is way too intense right now, especially on that standing leg, bring the foot down. Just do the little toe down version. Nice. If you're in this shape and you're like, this is a breeze, but you're still using your wall or your chair, then lighter on the wall or the chair or the tool or the Swiffer, and take your opposite arm up to the sky. Just a little added challenge. Last moment. Nice, and then slowly come out of the pose. And then really especially shake out that standing leg, which is doing all that work. Yep. Shake it out. So we're going to do the second side. So I'm going to set my Swiffer. Perfect. Relaxed shoulders. Think about the posture, the length in the spine. That will all really help. Take a nice big inhale. And as you exhale, sink your weight into your left leg. Start to play with the idea of balance first. So try not to rush it. That's where we get into trouble. We're like, I want to be in the shape right now. Take your time. Turn the knee out. Bring the heel in, toes down. Maybe play with the idea of being on just the tippy toe, or bringing the foot against the side of the calf. You do want to avoid having the foot, or especially the heel, right on the side of the knee. You want to go above or below. My body shape doesn't like above. So you choose what works. You start to get your confidence. You stand a little taller. You hug your belly in a little. And from this place, maybe you get a little bit lighter on your Swiffer. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're holding it for dear life. And it's all okay. And if you want to add a little bit more challenge, you can always take the arm up. And then soften it down. Two more big breaths. Remember, in balance, every time you fall out, slowly find your way back in. And slowly start to find your way out of the shape, and oh, really the feet are like, what? So shake it out. You can set your Swiffer tool aside. And let's just do some shoulder rolls. So this next one's really easy. You might remember this from being a kid, but it feels so good. So plant your feet just a comfortable space apart. You can be really, really loose. We're going to be kind of ragdolly. And you're going to want to step away from any furniture. So I'm going to step forward a bit because I don't want to whack anything. So keeping nice and open, we're just going to start to loosely flop. So letting the inertia pull our arms away from our body. Letting them sort of smack the body lightly wherever they land as we do our little twists. Make sure knees stay happy here, so if you need a little bend in the knees, do that. And just a little bit of flopping. I really love the way that I create a little bit of a breeze over my arms when I do this. I like how light it feels and airy and silly. So take your time and just sort of play with this movement. Find your breath again. closed your eyes through that like I just did and you find yourself getting a little dizzy, open the eyes again. So a couple more breaths of this. And then rather than abruptly stopping, just sort of slow down and let the movement sort of more naturally come back to stillness rather than trying to do it all at once. And as you settle back into the center, roll your shoulders again up to your ears, back, soften them down, shake it out a little, and then when you're ready, come down to your mat. And as you come down to your mat, please grab something to sit on for this last pose. Well, not last, almost last. I'm gonna grab a bolster. You can grab a couple of pillows, anything that helps to get your hips just a bit higher than your knees. And we're gonna find our way back to a seat. Remember that how you get up and down isn't as important as that you get up and down. So any way you get there, it's totally cool. And as you find your way into a seat, we're going to find our way into feet together, knees apart. Oh, I just stole a pillow from a dog. I know, so mean. I'm so sorry. He's going to come get it back. Bring your feet together and pull your knees apart. Now, I like how it feels to let my knees dangle into gravity. That's too much stretch for some people. If you're feeling too much, it's feeling kind of almost like you're tensing against it, then you're going to want to prop your legs up on something. You can grab a couple of your pillows and bunch them up under your knees. I've got another one here. That actually feels really nice. Try to get them sort of even, right? You can totally do this. This is allowed. Or you can just let them hang into gravity. If you have yoga blocks, you can also put yoga blocks under your knees. Everything's allowed. I'm going to let mine hang. The trickiest part of this shape is that when we first try to do this, a lot of times we start from here and the inner edges of the feet are touching and we're like, okay, now what? It's really important to sort of squish the feet together, bottoms of the feet together, and then find the pose. Yeah. So if you're on pillows, scoot yourself just a little tiny bit forward so that your back of your butt is lifted a little higher than the front. And this is what will tip our pelvis forward. If you're feeling a lot of smush here between belly and thighs, lift the belly and either slide it up over each thigh or pull it in between each thigh. And from here you might just want to hang out nice and tall and let your head hang down. Or you might want to lengthen the spine, tip the pelvis forward even more and melt your heart for a deeper stretch through the outer hips or the inner thighs. You want to avoid sensation in the sides of the knees. We're going to hang out here for about 10 deep breaths. So I want you to find a version of this you can really melt into and really let your head go in. If it feels nicer to sort of, as you breathe, move a little bit side to side, you can do that. You don't have to be perfectly still here, but try to keep the legs as soft as you can. We probably have about 8 deep breaths to go. Remember, it's the same shape whether you're forward or you're sitting up really tall. It's whether you're feeling it that matters, not what it looks like. Whatever your shape, soften your jaw, soften your shoulders. Last couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, slowly press your way back up to a tall seat. Take your hands to the pillows behind you or the floor behind you and slowly lengthen one leg and then the other. Shake out your legs a bit. Bounce them up and down, roll them, point and flex the feet, roll out the ankles, whatever you like. And then come off of whatever you're sitting on. And we're going to find our way back to our back for a little bit of a twist and one last pose, and then we'll be finished and moving into Shavasana. If you know you're going to want one of your handy pillows for your Shavasana, then make sure it's within reach before you come down to the floor. And otherwise, we're going to move our way all the way back to our backs. When you come down to your back, try to find connection between the back of the head and the floor. So that's only going to happen for me if I take my ponytail out so that the back of my head can really root down. I notice that a lot of people are challenged here with getting the back of the head to the floor. It really feels unnatural. We want to put something under there. See what it feels like. It may take some getting used to. And if your body still needs that support under the head, then add it, but make sure it's a firm support. And then we're going to bend our knees and scooch our feet close to our bum within reason. So that's the direction your feet are going. Feet are a comfortable distance apart. We're going to move into what I call robot arms. So I sort of roll each shoulder blade more underneath and plant the elbow down, fingertips towards the ceiling. I'm going to do that on both sides. So kind of like Mr. Roboto. Now for this next one, it's really important that you keep the back of your head firm to the mat and you don't turn your head to the side. So if you're looking at me, I'd like you to instead close your eyes, resist the urge, and listen to my voice. So the backs of the elbows are going to press down into the floor. The bottoms of the feet are going to press down into the floor. And really even, we're going to roll the tops of the shoulders back because we're going to aim for the shoulders getting back towards the floor. And when all of those places are pressing down and you feel ready, then inhale and lift your hips up away from the floor and towards your chin a little bit. So hips come up and forward. And so you lift the heart, bring the heart towards the chin, but the back of the head presses into the floor. Hips are away from the floor, maybe a little, maybe a lot. And you can keep pressing the hips up, stretching the knees forward. And don't be afraid to use your glutes, your butt muscles a little bit for a little bit of lift here. One big breath. And as you exhale, try to roll down from the top of the spine to the bottom, letting the hips be the last things to touch the floor. And then relax your arms. Let everything soften. When you're ready, we're going to do that again. If you don't want to do it again, it's cool. Just hang out and rest on your back. So again, coming into robot arms and rolling each shoulder blade really far underneath my body. I think of my shoulder blades like two little hands supporting my upper back. So elbows are down, fingertips towards the ceiling. Press into the elbows. Press into the bottoms of the feet. Press gently into the back of your head. And when you're ready, inhale. Lift your hips. So I scooch my tailbone under and then lift my hips just towards my chin. A little bit of glutes will take pressure out of the low back. And if you're okay here, one last breath. If you're not, come down already, top of spine to bottom. If you're still in it, now we start our descent. Top of the spine, roll it down. Hips are the last things to touch. Let go of the glutes. Relax your hands. Take a breath. Maybe two. So our last shape before Shavasana is just a simple twist. Not so simple for some of us with wider hips, so I'm going to walk you through how I get into a really nice twist. Takes a little figuring in the beginning, but what I'd like you to try, if you have got wider hips like I do, take a big inhale, lift the hips, scooch them generously over to the left side of your mat, bring your feet with you, arms can relax out to the sides, and then hug the knees up and roll over onto your outer right hip. Feels so good. If I don't scooch my hips over to the side first, I don't get as much space in this twist. Legs can be stacked. They can be separated. One leg could be straighter than the other. Lots of ways to do this. Find your version. 3 deep breaths. last moment. To come out on an inhale, hug the belly in, hug the knees in, roll back to your back, and now you're going to be all crooked, and that's cool. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So come back to the center of your mat. Pick your hips up, scooch them generously over to the right. Bring your feet with you. And then hug the knees up away from the floor, and then roll them over to the left. Same thing as we did. Hands can do a number of things. Different places you put the hands will change how the twist feels. 3 deep breaths. Come out with an inhale. Hug your belly in towards your spine. Roll back. You'll be a little bit cattywampus or sideways, so come back into center. And then you're going to set yourself up for Shavasana. If you need to move anymore or stretch anymore, please do. Otherwise, you're going to find your way into your most comfortable position lying on the floor. Now, if you're on the back here and your knees are bent, but it's still a little pinchy in your low back, just sort of lift the hips, so tuck the tailbone under a little bit. You don't want to flatten the low back. You just want to lengthen it. Maybe roll the shoulders back. Take your arms away from the body, or rest your hands on the sides or the front of your belly. Some of us love to extend the legs long. For some of us with knees bent, the legs are still working. If that's you, you might walk the feet a little wider. Bring the knees in toward each other, tops of the thighs towards each other. No matter what, just choose something comfortable, and if you want to add one of your pillows under your head or under your knees, do that. Begin to settle again into your breath. Let the back of the body get heavy again. And notice the fullness of the breath. The way your body expands when you breathe in. Softens when you breathe out. And without forcing anything, just allow this breath to continue. Soften your jaw, your forehead, the muscles around your eyes, your chest, and your belly, and your whole back. Keeping your eyes softly closed, please just begin to deepen your breath and invite some small movements into your body. Maybe it's wrists, fingers, maybe it's toes, or a gentle turn of your chin over each shoulder. When you're ready for bigger movements, then some stretches might be nice. Maybe dropping your knees from one side to the other. Or maybe you want to take the legs long and stretch the arms overhead. When you're ready to come up, bend your knees and just roll over onto one side. Keep your head a little bit heavy. Use your upper body to press your way into a comfortable, tall seat. Any tall seat counts. Don't be in a big hurry. Find your way there in your own time. And as you do, stack shoulders over hips. Roll your shoulders up to your ears, back, soften them down. Take a nice big inhale, lengthen your spine, and as you exhale, bow your chin towards your chest. Bring your hands, palms together at the center of your heart. I like to close each class with the word namaste because it simply means that the light or the beauty in me honors the light and the beauty in each of you. And so with deep gratitude for ourselves for making this precious time for self-care, with gratitude for this practice of yoga and for each other, namaste. Thank you everybody so much for joining me on today's Body Positivity Yoga Live. If you have questions, as I mentioned at the beginning, please send me an email or leave a comment down below. The comments may or may not stay open once I close the live feed. I don't know yet how that works, so we'll be learning that together. Once this is finished, I'm going to be making it private and sending each of you a specific link so that you can continue to view the practice after. I may keep it open for a period of time or just forever. I haven't decided yet, but for sure you have some time to go back and replay this practice again if you would like to revisit it. But I hope to hear from you. Please let me know how your experience was and if you had any sound issues, if there were any connectivity issues. I've noticed throughout the practice that a red bar, my camera's quite far, but I've noticed a red bar coming up. I don't know if that means I was freezing in those moments, but if you have feedback for me on that, that is also awesome. I like to know these things because I want to keep doing these classes because it's so much fun. So anyways, thanks again you guys for joining me. I hope to see you on the mat again soon. Have a great night. Bye. Now I get really close to turn it off.